if you don't want to go to school, you don't have to. Like, don't let the social norms of the world dictate what your vision is and what your plan is. You figure out what you want to do, and then act upon it. And if you change your mind, it's okay. When my parents said you have to go to college, I understand. Like, they were just trying to set me up, the best way they thought, they could. You have to do it anyways, because I remember my mother said, we're working in our careers and we've been there for 20 something years, and we're missing out on promotions because there are new people coming in with degrees, and it's too late for us to go back to school. So we're just kind of stuck at this level, and we can't go any higher. And we don't want that for you. So go get your degree. I was like, okay, well, I guess if that's what I have to do, that's what I'm going to do, but I quickly realized that with the amount of jobs I've changed, I can't tell you how many different majors I've had, because I was 17, 18, 19 years old trying to figure out what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Right. And, like, there's so many people out there that get that degree and then they start working in that field and they go, oh, I hate this. Yep. I don't want to do this. And it's like, yeah, well, yeah, because you had to make that decision when you were 18.
At some point, you realize the numbers you're hitting aren't measuring the life you're living. Welcome to Quit the Quota. I'm Darryl Miedico.
And I am Marya Ryan. This is the podcast for professionals, especially sales professionals, who've done what they were supposed to do and still found themselves questioning whether that version of success really fits.
Each episode features honest conversations with people who stepped outside the traditional mold, along with reflections from our own years in the corporate world.
Quit the Quota isn't about quitting ambition. It's about defining success on your terms. Hi, Darryl.
Marya, what's going on today?
You?
I'm great. I am great today.
Oh my. I just was feeling like I just started to have my coffee, but I feel like I don't know if I ordered an extra shot, but I feel buzzed up today in a great way.
Well, you know what I did today that I don't do a lot of it because I don't think they're that good for you, is I had an energy drink before my workout today.
Sometimes they taste so good though.
I got a Welch's grape one.
Ooh, so oh my gosh. Remember those sodas? The Welch's grape soda? Oh my gosh. Do they make that anymore?
I think so. I don't.
Oh my gosh. As a kid, I thought that was the best thing ever.
It tastes just like that, by the way. It's got the carbonation. It tastes just like it.
Oh, awesome.
I had one of those this morning before my workout, and I know they're horrible for you, right? But they taste good. And I got that little boost. I didn't want coffee today, so I had that.
I like it. That's awesome.
What are you gonna do?
So we have a guest today, and I am pumped. Why don't you give us a little intro?
Yeah, for sure. Great friend of mine. Okay. Craig Rayno is going to be on the show today. And, Craig and I met, it was odd actually. And we'll talk about it when he comes on board. But we met through, I thought I had a leak. At the end of my property, I have, I've got it's like a cistern, right? It holds water for the fire department. And I thought there was a leak coming out of it because there was so much water that was coming in from that general area. And I called the fire department. I'm like, hey, I think you got a leak over here. I think you got a leak in your cistern. And they come out. They're like, no, you're an idiot. Your irrigation system is all screwed up. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, perfect. So I'm the leak. I got the leak.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm like, okay. And I had just moved into the house, and I'm like, I don't know anyone in the area. Do you happen to know anyone? And then they introduced me to Craig, and
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then from there, like him and I have worked together in a few different ways, and he's off doing his own thing now, and I'm super happy for him. He's running his own business, and I thought he'd be a great person to have on the show. Sure.
Fantastic.
Sure.
All right, well, let's bring him on. Craig.
What's up, guys?
Up?
How are you?
I forgot all about that leak.
Did you forget that
story? Yeah.
I want to know how the fire department knows you, though.
The firefighter lives across the street from my house.
Oh, okay, good.
And
at least it wasn't a police officer that knew him, right?
Yeah. Right. Then I'd be going, oh, juicy.
Right. Yeah. No.
No, that was a funny story because I remember they're like, no, there's something going on with your irrigation here, and I'm like, I don't know anyone that does irrigation in the area, and he's like, oh, I do. I'm like, okay, great, and then And then, you were right out of the gate. You were fantastic. You came out, and then I forget how we even got on it. We started talking about what I do, and we'll talk about that. And the next thing you know, we were doing things together, and it was awesome. So
fantastic. Good stuff.
So Craig, why don't you maybe just introduce yourself to the world?
Yeah, I'm Craig Rayno. I own True Turf Landscaping out of Darryl, New Hampshire. We're a service-based business, providing services for commercial and residential properties. I'm just starting year 3 on my own, but it's certainly not year 3 of me in the industry. It's been something I've been doing since I was, earning money since I was 17.
Awesome.
If you ask my dad, I've been, mowing lawns since I was 10 because I had to. But I had a long career doing that, and I've bounced around, and we'll obviously get into, my whole story. But start my business and and building it and watching it grow and learning along the way, and it's great. It's an awesome experience, and I'm happy. And each year the business goes up, and up. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, funny story, guys. We were supposed to have Craig on a couple weeks ago, and Craig messages us in the morning and was like, "We need to reschedule." And then we were like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And then Darryl's like, "What's going on, man?" And then Craig goes,
"Yep, no."
He had a battle with poison
ivy early in the season, which I didn't even think it was out yet. And I had been watching it all week, and it had been like kind of crawling up the side of my face. I'm like, that's all right. You can't really notice it. And then then it was like up here, and I'm like going to bed like Thursday, and we were supposed to do the show Friday, and I was like, maybe it'll be better Friday. And I wake up Friday morning, my wife looks at me and she goes, "What is going on with your face?" And I couldn't feel it, but this eye was shut.
Oh my God.
I could see a little bit through.
Yeah.
Went and looked in the mirror, and I was like, I'm supposed to be on a podcast in 2 hours. I am going to have to let them know that I'm going to need to reschedule, because I look like I think I told you, I look like the monster from the Goonies. It was awful. And, and the crazy thing is, it was there and everything, but that afternoon it was going away, and I could have gotten away with it if we had rescheduled for the afternoon, but I was like, well, let's just let it all go away first.
Yep.
But
it all works out. But I just thought that was classic. I'm like, he owns a landscaping business, battling poison ivy, of course.
Right. Yes. Yeah, and I mean, we're at the house, and the lady's like, "Yeah, be careful. There's poison ivy over there." I'm like, "It's April. Calm down. There's no poison ivy out yet." Sure enough,
I
wasn't even doing much.
I wouldn't even thought twice of it, just like you did. Yeah. I'd be like, "Oh, it's early in the season. It hasn't spread out yet."
Yeah.
The leaves probably aren't even all that oily, right? Whatever. I'll just.
I didn't even see it.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Oops.
It's better now. My face is back. It's good.
You look great.
Avoid it now. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So why don't you start and tell, because you haven't, I think for sure you've kind of been around irrigation and landscaping, right? Obviously I mentioned the story of how we met. That was kind of how it started. But I also know, obviously, you haven't always done just that, right? So maybe just, walk us through your background a little bit of who you are and what you've worked on.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Prior to landscaping.
It's a long story. I get a lot of I get made fun of a lot, just because of how many times I've bounced around and how many different jobs since when I was, starting with a paper route when I was 13 to now I'm 37 now, and I'm, running a business, but you name it, I've done it. Cook, gravedigger, working for the town of Salem, and in the cemeteries they would put the summer crew there, to a jewelry salesman, to landscaper, to real estate agent, you name it, sales, all that. I've done it all, but I mean, just to shorten it, in the past, I would say 10, 15 years, I started working when I was about 21 for an irrigation company. I was kind of still in college, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be a teacher. But, I was just I was going to college because that's what you had to do, and even though, my parents knew and I knew that, I wasn't the best student, didn't really, want to sit down and read. But it was, you got to do it. You got to go to school. So while I was going to school, I was working this irrigation job and I learned this trade and I was like, well, I can make some decent money doing that. And I don't hate it, and I'm pretty good at it. And I was moving up the ranks in the company, fairly quickly. And that then spiraled into another a friend of mine who worked for that company. He was like, hey, I'm starting my own business. Do you want to come with me? And I said, sure. Let's do a little bit of stuff on the side. That turned into both of us getting fired. And then we're like, okay, well, now we have to figure this out. This is our only job. So we did that and we built that company over 10 years and it was fantastic. And I got better at it. I was, we would take on employees. I would be, running the jobs and all that stuff. And it was great. But started having children. And I was like, I need to find a way to, get out of this, labor intensive job, and start making some money. So I started taking real estate courses, and I took the course, I took the test, and I got my real estate license and I believe it's 2019. So you guys know what happened shortly after that. The real estate market shot right up during COVID. So it was a great time. And I was, working with I was working with great people. And I was off to the races and I was doing that. And the first couple of years was great. And I was getting better. I was doing more transactions. And then I started seeing the cracks starting to form, in the market. And I mean, even right now there's, 1,800 active listings, and that's including condos, homes, commercial lots, you name it. In the state of New Hampshire, there's only 1,800, but there's just shy of 7,000 agents active in New Hampshire right now. And so I'm like, and you guys know how hard it was to get an offer accepted, and everybody was out buying. Who wasn't buying when interest rates were 2.5%? I bought at 2.5%. It was great. So, so I was like, oh, it's getting harder and harder. And I mean, I could have really, put my head down and just focused and grew and fought through that, challenge. But the problem is the passion wasn't there. And I'm sure we'll touch on that a little bit more.
Absolutely.
I was just trying to chase the money, and I was just trying to do something that would pay money, pay me a good amount of money. And, but I didn't really feel it. And, I was sitting there and, I was thinking, I'm like, well, I really kind of miss working outside. I don't miss the poison ivy, but I miss it. I miss being outside. I miss, doing that. And the instant gratification of transforming somebody's lawn to, designing a landscape or something like that. I loved it. You go home at the end of the day and you're like, this looked awful before, but it looks fantastic now.
Oh yeah.
So I was kind of chasing that. But I'm like, no, well, I'm a real estate agent. I've changed jobs 30 times. I can't go to my wife and say, hey, I want to go back. So, I think the moment that really, sealed it for me that I knew I had to get out, was I was at this event, and there were, a ton of, big business owners and a lot of money being thrown. It was a big charity event, charity dinner. And, I'm there with my wife and a whole bunch of other people that I know, that were, for friends, acquaintances, I wouldn't call them to hang out today. They're not my close friends, but they were, acquaintances through work. And, I'm sitting there and I'm in a suit and I'm uncomfortable and, and I'm like, I feel like I'm pretending to be somebody that I'm not, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. I want to go home. And one girl was there. She was sitting next to me. And she goes, you look like you don't want to be here. And I'm like, can you see that on my face? Because I don't. I would rather be at home sitting in my garage, hanging out with my friends, you know, having a beer, watching football or something like that, being me, you know? And it was that drive home. I said to my wife, I was like, you know, like I really like, I feel like a disconnect here. And like, I kind of like, I'm not happy. I kind of want to go back, but if I am going back, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm not going to go work for another company. And she's like, okay, but this is the last one. You know, you're not changing anymore. So she goes, make it work. And I'm like, all right. So like, that's, you know, you guys talk about on your show, your why, you know, obviously my kids and, you know, and the life that we live, but like, that's really my why. Cause I don't have any other option. Like she's not going to let me change again. So I'm making this work, and year 3 now, and we're doing great. And it's fantastic. Each year it gets better and better. So, yeah, no, that was the final, you know, nail in the coffin for me for, you know, my real estate career. And obviously I slowly fizzled out of that. And, you know, I was kind of still, you know, I was working with Darryl and you know, like doing little things here and there. And, you know, now I'm trying to start a landscaping company. I'm still doing real estate transactions, and I'm still kind of working for Darryl. And I remember the feeling of like, I'm so overwhelmed. You know, and like it was way too much trying to, and I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and like that whole dynamic and trying to keep the house, you know, looking right and fixing stuff around the house. It was just so much. Sure. And then I remember I called Darryl and I was like, I got to pick 2, you know, like, and unfortunately, like, and really I got to pick 1, you know, but I needed to take something off my plate, and I couldn't give Darryl and you guys 100% of my attention. I couldn't even give you 10%, you know, because it was just pulled in so many different directions. And I think it's like really important to like recognize that and act upon it. So, but yeah, no, that's a short story. I can talk for 3 hours about every job I've had, you know, and trying to chase that money, that payday, trying to figure out who I was. You know, it was a long process, but like I finally feel happy with what I'm doing, and you know, and it's my thing. I'm not working for somebody else. I'm not, you know, working for a broker, and I'm not trying to sell houses, and I'm not trying to hit a sales quota because there were sales jobs in between, you know, and like it was just like, this is my thing, and what I put into it is what I'm going to get out of it. And if I want more, I need to put in more. So, and that's kind of the mentality that I have going into it every season, every day, every week, you know, you name it. Like, you want more money? Go sell your business. Like, don't go sell somebody else's business, because you're just buying them a lake house. You know, if you want that lake house, go work for it, you know, and you know, put the picture up on your vision board and like look at it every day and just like, this is what I'm working for. And that's the, you know, I'm super happy I'm, you know, working for myself now and not somebody else. So
Craig, what a phenomenal story. No, seriously, you just touched on so many points. I saw Darryl writing, I'm writing, because
I got notes here.
Yes. Yeah. You touched on just the journey and some of the being vulnerable and sharing certain things. Thank you, because there's a lot of us out there, no matter what position you're in, right? You know, you shared that you were jack of all trades kind of, and the reasons behind that I want to dive into. So I just want to say thank you for sharing that story. It was really, that was awesome. Seriously.
Yes. I know. I'm sure Marya and I are both chomping at the bit here.
We're both like, let's go.
To kind of dive into some of these themes, because there's a lot of great stuff that I don't even know if you fully realize yourself, kind of what you've gone through. Marya, I'm going to take a first shot, if that's okay.
Yep,
chronologically here. And I'm sure you this one jumped out at you too. But I want to start from the beginning. I want to start way in the beginning. And you made a comment, your discussion with your parents of, I got to go to school. I got to go to school. Perfect. Even though I knew I wasn't that great of a student, right? And I want to start with this one, because the reality is that, and it's not it's not good, it's not bad, it just is. And we have to understand that as human beings, okay? Is that we make decisions based upon the past. Okay?
Mhm.
Even though at that time, you know, what, you were 17, 18, you know, years old, right? In that range where it wasn't that big of a past, right? But you were making decisions based upon paradigms, all right, from parents, teachers, religious leaders that say, you have to do this. You got to go to school.
Mhm.
Okay. And I think that from what I see, a lot of people, right, sell out their dreams or they don't go with their passion because of what they believe they have to do. So I'm curious to know, you know, you're a father now,
Mhm.
right? You know, have you had a moment to reflect on that? And does that change kind of how you give advice as a father and how you give advice? You know, you're a young father, so you don't have to give that advice just yet. But will it change how you give advice as a father? And does it change how you give advice, you know, to you know, maybe someone else, like another teenager that's kind of coming up into those years? So, you know, you know, what do you think about that? Right? I mean, do you have to do those things? You know, look
Yeah.
back at your own life.
No, that's a great question. We've already had the conversation with my 6-year-old son. Um, you know, he obviously sees, you know, mom go to work. He sees dad go to work. My wife's a speech pathologist. She went to school for it. She got her, you know, master's degree. She's working for a school now. She's doing great. And then he sees me, you know, kind of running my own business, and he has his shirt with my logo on it.
Oh, I love
And
that.
you know, like, and obviously, like 6-year-olds, you know, like, oh, I
Yeah.
want to be a landscaper like that, or I want to be a speech pathologist like mom, you know, whatever it is. Um, we've already told him that, like, if you don't want to go to school, you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't let the social norms of the world dictate what your vision is and what your plan is. You figure out what you want to do, and then act upon it. And if you change your mind, it's okay. Um, you know, when I went to school, when my parents said you have to go to college, I understand. Like, they were just trying to set me up, you know, the best way they thought, you know, they could. You know, like,
Mm-hmm.
we'll you know, get student loans, we'll do that, and we'll send you to school. And they knew, like, you know, my brother was a great student, my sister was a great student, but I wasn't the greatest. I barely graduated. You know, like, just because school isn't for me. That's not where I learn. I learn hands on. I learn by experience, and I can't sit down. I can't read a book and learn something and study something. But they were like, you have to do it anyways, because I remember my mother said, you know, we're working in our careers and we've been there for 20 something years, and we're missing out on promotions because there are new people coming in with degrees, and it's too late for us to go back to school. So we're just kind of stuck at this level, and we can't go any higher. And we don't want that for you. So go get your degree and find that good job and get that 401k and that retirement plan and all that. And I was like, okay, well, I guess if that's what I have to do, that's what I'm going to do, you know. But I quickly realized that I'm like, this, you know, even, you know, with the amount of jobs I've changed, I can't tell you how many different majors I've had, you know, because I was 17, 18, 19 years old trying to figure out what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Right.
And, you know, like, there's so many people out there that get that degree and then they start working in that field and they go, oh, I hate this.
Yep.
I don't want to do this. And it's like, yeah, well, yeah, because you had to make that decision when you were 18 and
You
had to
barely
commit to
know.
it.
You're just barely scratching the surface
Yeah.
of who you
Like,
are.
there
Yeah.
are things that I were interested when I was 18 that don't interest me now. There were things that interest me when I was 10 that don't interest me now. So if somebody's like, oh, I want to be a engineer or something, because that's what excites me, that's great, you know, do it. But what happens when you're 28 and you realize, oh, it doesn't really excite me anymore, this is it, you know, like,
Yep.
and then you're stuck, you know, and you have to do that. So
I've got a friend, and you know, friend, and fortunately he's a friend who started as a client, who police officer in a city, and you know, he started his career as a police officer, loved it, and started to realize he did not love it anymore for lots of different reasons. and he left before his tenure. He left before he was eligible for his retirement package.
Right.
He made a decision based upon what he wants, which is really hard to do.
Right.
You know, I've seen a lot of my friends and family members who are also police officers who, like, they can't even fathom that. They're like, you've put in, you know, I don't even know what the minimums are. I'm sure it varies by department, but like, you've put in 15 years, put in 5 more years and you get 70% of your salary, right? Like whatever, you know what I mean? Like he was within a stone's throw. He was like 5 years away. He wasn't far off. And he's like, I cannot spend another day here.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it. I can't get into another fight. I can't have someone else say, I hate you. Like, it wasn't even like about him as much as just like, I'm not enjoying this.
You're right. Yeah.
And I mean, just like the guts on him to make that change, the guts on you. Like, you know, you said earlier too, like, oh, I changed 30 times. I can't change again. Like, why not?
Exactly.
No, I mean, that's true. You know, I mean,
Why
just
not?
because my wife told me, and I have to listen. No.
I'm sure there's like
I mean,
ability there that she's wanting to make sure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand that, but
and
yeah.
I think the pattern is for me is I get to the point where it becomes difficult, and this is and I've reflected on this, you know, over the past couple of years. I get to the point where it becomes difficult, and you back away because of you guys talk on your show, the fear of failure, and like I don't want to fail. Like, but if I quit on my terms, I didn't fail. I just quit and I just moved on to something else.
Ooh, I love that.
And
love that. Put that on a t-shirt.
So I would get to that difficult point and I wouldn't push through.
Yeah.
And it's typically year 3, you know, and I've noticed, you know, you get to that 3rd year and it's like, oh, well, you know, I've put so much money into it, I put so much time into it, but now it's becoming really hard. Now I have to put my head down and I have to focus. And here I am on year 3. And year 1 of my landscaping business was great. Year 2 was even better. Now year 3, it's like, okay, here we go. I know it's coming. And sure enough, starting off the season, it's like, well, there goes the truck. Now I got to fix the truck. There goes the mow. Now I got to fix the mow. There goes this person. There goes that. And there's all these new different challenges now being year 3. And it's like, you know, you're losing sleep and you're trying to figure it out. And this is the moment where I would go, whoop, this isn't working. This is too much stress. This is too hard. But I take a break. I pause. I think, and I find a way through it. And it's like, okay, like this is what I need to do. This is how I'm going to do it. I put a plan together, and I work through it. And then it'll be, and like I know if I get over this hump, it's going to be not necessarily smooth sailing, but it will be better. You know, this is just a hiccup in the road. This is just. You know, a bump in the road, you know, and I just got to power through and don't quit, you know, because there's a lot of times where I look back and I go, I really wish I had really focused more on that and done and tried harder, you know, whether it would be, you know, a job or whether it was like in high school, you know, playing a sport and like you're trying to, make the starting lineup and you're practicing, you're just kind of moseying through, you're just doing the bare minimum.
Right.
And then you don't make that starting lineup and you're like, now you're looking back at 30 years old and you're like, oh man, if I had just like really just tried harder and just, you know, fought through it and showed some guts, like I probably would have made that. And I wish I had a time machine to go back to that moment and be like,
oh yeah,
you know, don't be a little bitch and just fight through it, you know, and just go.
Yeah.
So I have that mentality now, you know, just like, all right, don't be a bitch, just figure it out.
Yeah.
Just work through it. And, you know, life is always going to throw you, you know, this curveball and it's your decision to swing or not swing. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, you're going to hit it and you're going to be just fine. But it's the times where you back away and you're scared to swing that you're going to fail. You're just going to roll over. You're going to become complacent and it's not going to work. So you have to work through these bumps in the road. But yeah.
Do you think if you're looking back on those particular circumstances, interesting that you realized it was on year 3. So, but looking back and as you're going through, what do you think was the main reason why you backed away, which caused you to continue? Before I finish that statement, my understanding is that what you shared was why you were trying different things. Cause by year 3, you were like,
Right.
okay. So what do you think that was, if you could, peel it back, what do you think that the defining feeling, emotion was that was causing you to feel that way?
I'm not really sure. I feel like it's, you just get to that moment where whatever you're doing requires more of you. It requires growth, and it requires, change. And whether it's your systems, it's whether how you're operating your business, or whether it's how you're operating your life, whatever it is, it doesn't necessarily have to be work.
Right.
You have to adjust, and you have to, the economy changes, the market, whatever. Things are always going to change. And if you don't change, you're just going to stay back in what it was like in year 1 and 2, and the rest of the world's just going to keep going, and they're going to leave you behind.
Yeah.
And so I think it was like, well, this is hard. I've been doing it this way for so long, and I'm stuck in my ways. And like, this way has been working. Why should I change? And then instead of changing, I would just be like, oh, this is getting too difficult. Like, let me just move on to something easier. And try to find that something easier, which is never the case. It's never the answer. It's always just, if you're passionate about it and you like what you're doing, adjust and roll with the punches, and you'll be better. You'll keep the business moving forward, and you'll be better in the long run.
I would, as I hear you talk through it, I would imagine, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so verify if I'm right or wrong. I would imagine that in those other gigs, when it got hard, your why was not strong enough.
Absolutely. I think that's absolutely what it was. I think my why for everything that I've done in my past was money. It was just money. I don't care what the job is. If it pays good money, go and do it. But I didn't have the passion to do those things. And yes, I mean, I own a landscaping company now, and so does the kid down the road. People are like, oh, it's not a Fortune 500 business, but like, it's something I'm passionate about. It started off as a hobby at my house, just trying to make my yard look the best than anybody else's in town. If there was somebody that is going to come around to give an award, I don't know if there is that person. I'm waiting for them to come knock on my door, but they're going to come any day. So it started off as a hobby. It started off something that I could, talk with my friends with, who also, had, homes, and they wanted to make their lawn look great. And I was like, well, and I said before, I didn't learn from sitting down and reading. But it's funny when you're passionate about something and you want to learn about something.
Yeah.
I can sit down and I can learn it by reading, and I'm taking notes and I'm remembering everything I'm writing down because I'm so interested in it, and I'm learning. And like, this is whether it's, for you flying, planes, and I don't know what your hobbies are, Marya, but like,
not flying planes.
Yeah, right. Same. But if you want to learn, and you're eager to learn, you will learn, whichever way, whether it's somebody telling you, whether it's sitting down and reading, whether it's watching a YouTube video. So I took that and I go, I really enjoy this. This is a really good hobby, and I can make money doing it and feel good about it. And I'm like, okay, this is my passion, and my why isn't necessarily money anymore. Yes, the money comes and like, it's great. But the why is, it's more so for, if my son or daughter want to not go to college and they want to take over the business someday, I'm not going to force them to do that, but I want to set that up over the next 15 years to be a good company where they can then take that over, and I can step back and I've set them up for success, And if they don't, great. And I could sell the business and whatever, or just keep it going. But that's a why, helping others and like taking my knowledge and my passion for it and offering that to my clients. Like, I feel like that's what separates me from a lot of other companies, because I'm going to go that extra step, and I'm going to make sure that my work reflects, great on my, quality, but like also that you're happy with it. And I'm constantly learning, and I'm constantly growing, and I'm constantly, adjusting the way I do things. And like there's a lot more whys now than instead of just find that payday, find that money, go sell a house, go sell $1 million house, get that big commission check. Like that's all it was for me. But now this is totally different. And plus it's something that has my name on it. That like,
Yeah.
when,
So cool.
if I die later on in life, I want to be remembered for this company that's helped, a lot of people, not necessarily, like, yes, they're clients, but like, we're going to be, and we can talk about this more, we're going to be implementing in like, are there people in this community that, if somebody's sick and they can't take care of their house, we're going to go do that for them. Like we're going to be slowly, trying to give back to the community, because I'm going to be here. I'm not leaving this 2.5% interest rate home. I'm not.
You're stuck there for a while.
Here. I told my wife, don't ever plan on moving unless
We're
interest
locked
rates
in.
come back down. We're locked in.
I've
This is my community now. And it's like, I want to set something in place where I can get back to it. And I can be remembered for that,
Purpose is so powerful.
Yeah.
It's funny you said something earlier that I wanted to touch on, like the moment that you were in the suit.
Yeah.
And you felt like I that do not belong here. This is not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And the realization of I have been trying to fit into some mold that's, rock, hard plate, square peg, round hole, etc.
Yeah.
And what I love about that story, though, is that you finally gave yourself permission to be okay with it not being the right fit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we had a podcast guest, Mike Sjogren, and he shared a really cool thing about with your kids. And I love that you bring up your kids and that you're starting to talk to them about this stuff, because I think it is so powerful. We tell our kids that they can be anything they want, but yet we're doing this job that we hate. We're clearly in conflict of our advice and our go shoot for, want to be an astronaut? Great. You want to be a police officer? Great. You want it, whatever it is. Right. And yet we're living in a he went far with that comment. He was like, that hit it for me. So I love that you realized it, but now you're starting to implement it. It was giving yourself permission to be okay. And what was the time frame from leaving that, throwing that suit in the Goodwill bin to start like, okay, I'm all in? What was the length of time really before you started to see, okay, this is it?
So the event took place, I want to say in the winter. And it's funny, I was like, I think I'm going to do this. Let me put a business plan together.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put a strategy together. Let me figure out how to do this. Let me figure out what I need to like at least get started. And, I had a couple of clients like Darryl, like I was helping just a handful of people, whether it was irrigation or, it wasn't like mowing services. It was just mostly like irrigation. It was just like a little side gig that I was doing that like I could never let that part of my past go. Like I was like, well, I still kind of enjoy it. Even if I'm going out and doing it for 10 people, like I still.
Isn't that interesting though? There was something still a little hook.
Like it was just still there, and it was just hanging in the back of my, back of my head. So I had that little small, clientele.
Yep.
But I think it was maybe a week, 10 days after I had that conversation, after that event where I was like, I don't want to be doing this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked with my wife, that my neighbor across the street, the one that recommended me to Darryl, the firefighter, he was a firefighter. He also owned a landscaping company on the side. And I'm out shoveling my driveway, and he's driving off, and he pulls over and he's talking to me, and he goes, hey, would you have any interest in maybe, taking over some of my clients for mowing? And like, I don't know if that's something you would want to do. Like, and, it doesn't have to be a lot. It could be whatever you want. Obviously you would need a mower and all that stuff. And I go, that's so funny that you
Oh my gosh.
pull over and just ask me.
And you had already made the decision, correct?
I had already started putting things slowly in gear.
He created the vacuum, Darryl.
Yeah, like
it's amazing.
And he's like, wow, that's really weird that you're going to be starting a landscaping company. And I didn't want it to be like, oh, I'm going to compete against you, but like, let's work together. Like, he was getting older. He had too much. And he's like,
cool.
I don't want these ones anymore. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I remember he drove off and I was like,
what just happened?
Weird. The universe just like gave me that pat on the back to say,
that's it.
Go do it.
Yes.
Like this, how many people show up at your house and say, would you like clients of mine? Nobody does that. Nobody ever does that. And so then that got the ball rolling. And I was like, all right, come April, I'm going.
The amount of stories that we have around this type of scenario is pretty amazing. And this is why, as I get older and the more mindset work that I personally do, I believe this more and more, that we are all matter and energy. That's it. That's all we are. Matter, physical matter. I've talked about this a few times in this show. And then the energy, right? Our spirit, our being, or whatever it is for you, right? For some it's religious, for some it's not. It's okay. It's whatever it is for you. But we're all matter and energy. And the reality is that our energy is interconnected. It 100% is. And the easiest way to describe that to someone that is having a hard time making that jump, they're like, oh, come on, Darryl, that's baloney. What are you talking about? Or like, I hear what you're saying, but I don't believe it. The easiest way to make that connection, to start to say, oh, maybe he's onto something, is how many times have each of us and anyone listening, how many times have we made a phone call or we sent an email or a message to somebody, maybe an old friend from the past or a relative or a loved one, or, our old college roommate or whomever. And we said, hey, there's something that we thought about them out of the blue. It's like, oh, I wonder what that person's up to.
Yep.
Right. And we've sent that message. We've made that phone call. We've done it. And then what do they typically say in return in those situations?
I was just thinking about you.
And I just got, honestly, on that one, as you said it, because we all know it, I just got those little goosebumps right there, because that is energy at work. There's something that we can't describe as human beings. We have small brains, even though we have smart brains. We have small, feeble-minded brains, and we can't figure out this bigger picture. Right. That is energy at work. Right. And that, to me, when you told me that story, that's exactly what happened here. You spoke to the universe. You spoke, you put this out there. That was your wavelength. That was your energy level, right? Yep. And then it triggered something in someone near you who's like, let me see what Craig's up to. Let me see if he'd be interested in some of these clients.
That has happened more times than I can count, especially during my real estate career. It would, obviously when you're working on commissions and you're forecasting out how far is this commission going to get me? And okay, it gets me, a month or two or whatever it is.
Sure.
If I don't do anything else, if I were to stop right now, what's my cushion? So you'd be sitting there and you'd be forecasting it out, and you're like, oh, like, okay, if I get somebody under contract this week, then it's 30 days minimum, and then I get my payday, So I would sit there and I'm like, I got to get somebody today. I have to, like, this phone, like whether I'm calling or whether somebody's calling me, it has to, like, I got to get somebody today or tomorrow. No word of a lie, that has happened. If I had to guess, a dozen times. Phone would ring within 20 minutes. And it's like, hey, I need to buy a house, or hey, I need to move, or hey, and I'm like, whoa, like what? How many times is this going to work? Like, I would just sit there and I would just be like, it's going to ring today.
So
it would.
So here's the pro tip for each of us as entrepreneurs and for everyone else. The goal now for each of us and for anyone listening is how far can you push that? Because that is a reality.
Right.
Yep.
And the only reason why in your past you put yourself in that situation where you were like, oh, I gotta do this, right? Is because that was your internal thermostat. That's kind of where you were okay with living. Now, whether we say things all the time, but right, we don't truly believe it. Like, how many times you walk up to a random person on a bus and you just say, hey, do you want to be a millionaire? What are they going to say?
Right.
Yes. You want to be a billionaire? Yes. Okay. Do you believe you can be a billionaire?
Right.
Do you believe you can put in the mindset and the work and the effort to get there? And if they're really honest with themselves, they might say, "No, I really don't believe it. I don't have the idea. I don't have the gumption.
Right.
I don't have the connections, whatever." That's their thermostat. That's their internal ceiling. But they'll tell you.
Sure thing, yeah.
They'll tell you I want to be a billionaire.
Right.
Right. So the key, and this is the pro tip. This is the pro tip for each of us and for everyone else in the world, is be grateful, but never satisfied. Be great. I'm grateful for where my businesses are at. I know you're grateful. I know Marya is grateful, but we're not satisfied. That's
What's
the
next thing? And it's not because like you said, if you don't have the gratitude and it's just the second half, you're going to fail. Right. You're going to burn out, and you're not going to, the dots are not going to connect. Right. You have to have that piece in the front of it. Yep. 100%.
And I love your theme, Craig, around not chasing the money, because it's not that I'm never satisfied about money. Money is so just, I had this conversation with a loved one recently, and it was an interesting conversation. I'll just put it at that. And I said, I don't care about money. And she's like, "Oh, that's because you have it. You have it right now." I'm like, "Well, no, like I actually kind of stopped caring about it when I started my, in fact, I kind of stopped caring about it when my business really started to take off. I was enjoying serving. I was enjoying helping. I was enjoying seeing my coworkers flourish, right? Like that's really what I was enjoying. And, and it really wasn't, at this point, I don't really care about the money. And I heard a really great one recently where, if you have some money in your pocket right now, $1 bill, $100 bill, whatever, if you get the piece of paper in your pocket, take it out, put it down, right? Look at that piece of paper. Does that piece of paper have any emotion? Does that piece of paper care about you?
Right.
Not in the
So
least.
why do you care about it?
Right. Yeah.
Why do you care about it?
You said it on one of your recent episodes. Money is meant to go in one hand and go out the other. Yep. When you said that, I was like, that is so true. You know, and then you were talking about like, obviously trading your time, like why fix the washer machine or the dryer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was great.
Why fix that? When I could pay, and then, and then you, Marya, with the tip, and then you get back
the tip,
the $100 tip that you let that waitress, you get, you get back, what you connected with your second client, you connected with somebody, like it's so true. And like, obviously, we were talking about a little bit before, I'm taking so many little tidbits from you guys, episodes.
Oh, we appreciate that. Thank you.
It's just like, oh, this is so good. Like, this is so good. This is the way I need to change the way I think about it. And it's honestly, if I stop focusing on the money and start focusing on other things in serving and helping and in doing this, the money will come. Like the money's always just going to come. If I focus on like, I don't want to do this job because it's not going to pay me this much, but I want to do this job because it's going to pay me this much. Like if I'm just constantly chasing that, I'm never gonna succeed.
And even the most successful people, and I mean, the three of us are salespeople. We've been around lots of different salespeople. I look at some of those really successful salespeople that weren't passionate about what they were doing, right? And they had the watches, they had the cars, they had a couple houses, right? And but they weren't passionate about what they were doing.
They weren't really happy as people either.
They weren't.
Right.
No,
Right.
They weren't. And then I think
you have to be.
Yeah. And then I think to the people that their goals didn't revolve around money or materialistic items. Their goals revolved more around, service and helping and giving. And those people were equally wealthy, probably more wealthy, and they were happy.
Right.
They enjoyed what they were doing. And that's what you got to find. That you got to find your why. And that's so important.
It's not even just why, it's also your desire. Because your why can be phenomenal. You could be like, well, I like you shared, you got your kids, you've got your wife, you've got your family to care for. That's absolutely important. and I think people get hung up on this.
Right.
So they end up making the decision based on the why alone.
Yeah.
So then you're stuck in that role or that place, or you're wearing that suit at that table going, this sucks and it is not who I am. And you're doing a job or a career that you yourself as an individual is maybe a little bit eroding slowly over time. So your why, make sure that's crystal clear, but also what do you want to do? And what I find so amazing about you, Craig, is that your why, your desire was knocking you over the head. Maybe not always, but like, hey, you love this. You're good at this. You love the before and after. Let's do Better Homes and Gardens, Craig Rayno style. Like, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So make sure that part though is also a piece of it. And I think that's really important. There's something else that I wanted to tap on because you mentioned it quite a few times. You talked about you gave yourself labels, and maybe other people gave you labels as well. And they don't mean to, right? Like I have 2 kids and they are very different. They're amazing. I'm blessed. They're awesome. My one girl wants to be a vet. And she is the one that's had every ribbon and cord on her when she graduated high school. And my son is the one who wants to rip apart a car engine, rebuild it, and he wants to be a firefighter. And he already is a volunteer firefighter. At 17 years old, has put himself through the volunteer classes and like wild, very different paths, but I'm supporting them both equally. And I look at them equally as far as you're stepping into who you're going to be. My point being is you said, I'm not good at school. I don't do this. I don't do that. It's interesting to me. Have you really unpacked some of those labels that you were either given? Maybe a teacher told you that, maybe family, maybe somebody else. Have you unpacked those at all to reconcile that I wasn't made that way for a reason?
Right. That's a deep question. Yeah, I have somewhat for a long part of my life. Whether it was back in high school and failed the test, or you got an F in this class and barely graduated, and I'm looking at like my brother, and I'm looking at other people who are doing well, and I'm constantly comparing myself to those other people, and I look at myself, it's like, oh, I'm a failure, like I'm worthless, and you beat yourself down. And if you do that long enough, it's just going to carry over into everything you do with your life. And I think that's why I would quit when things got hard.
Fear of failure.
I think it was recently when I started kind of unpacking those things and saying, okay, well, you're good at this. You're good at this. People are telling you you're good at this. So stop, labeling yourself as a failure in your own mind, and go out and be a winner. Go out and do it. And so that started when I started this business. I was just like, no, I'm not gonna let anything, in my own mind dictate like how this is going to go. Like I am going to do this. If it doesn't work, I'm going to adjust, and I'm going to do it a different way. And I'm just going to keep rolling, and I'm not going to fail because I'm not. I'm just not book smart. I'm not like my brother. I'm not like my friends that are all, really smart and have really great jobs and all that stuff. Like
they're smart different ways.
I'm me. Like
you're Craig, and you were made a certain way. Correct.
This is my skill. This is what I'm good at. Now go and do it, and it makes me happy to do it. And I'm not, I'm not doing it just because I have to. I'm doing it because I want to.
Do you think you would have been more successful earlier on if you felt supported with the fact that you don't fit into I'm not going to say, I want you to stop saying, I'm going to call you out. Stop saying you're not smart, because that is not true.
I mean,
that is not true.
When it comes, if you need help with your math homework, don't call me.
That's okay.
But
that's okay. You were made and gifted in a different way. I'm not good with math.
Have you seen the way they're doing math nowadays?
No,
I don't even want
they changed math.
It's the most absurd, ridiculous. I looked at my kids and I was like, this is absolute dog crap.
My son brought kindergarten math homework home the other day, and I looked at my wife. I go, I don't even know what they want us to do.
They have transformed it, and not
Right.
we're all just fine. I think
Looks
you should
good
go
to
back
me.
to that. They've overcomplicated it, of course.
Yeah, I know. No, I mean, it's not that I'm not smart. It's just that they were trying to get me
into the
to
box.
learn things. Yeah, they're just trying to fit a mold. Go to school, work this, go work that job, do this, that, and that was never ever me. Like I said, like, do you think I knew the first thing about lawn care and fertilizing and the chemical ingredients that go into it and what they do to
I
a
don't
living
know
organism?
a thing about that.
You know,
I probably
failed
burned my grass up to smithereens.
I failed chemistry, but now I know all those active ingredients and I know what they do and I know the right formula and I can do that math because I like to do it and I have the passion and I wanted to learn it. But I didn't want to learn who was, the king of England back in whatever hundreds of years ago. Why does that? Like nobody's ever going to ask me that. And I make the joke all the time. I'll sit down. I go, well, there goes another day that I didn't do algebra. And they would always say, like, you're going to do it. You're going to need this every day of your life. And it's like, no,
I'm not.
I don't. Like obviously some things, trying to figure out square footage and all that stuff. Yes, but
that's basic though.
That's basic stuff.
It's funny because I wasn't particularly a strong math student. I wasn't a bad student, but I wasn't particularly a strong math student. Mm-hmm. But I love math right now in my life when it comes to aviation.
Right.
And several times I'd open a book when I was going for my license and I still have to do these same calculations now. And it's like, I remember when I was going through it, it's like, okay, this is conceptual. Like I can understand this, right? This is a time distance formula, right? I need to know my fuel endurance, or I need to know my fuel burn, or I need to know, how fast I'm going to get there. Right. Or what, like, okay, this is, or trigonometry. I need to know my descent rate, right? Like, okay. Like, like now, like, yeah, I want to learn this, like your chemistry, discussion.
Phenomenal examples. Love it.
You just like, as humans, we just, we have things that are familiar and unfamiliar. That's it. Right. And, we humanity tends to, fall back to what's familiar. It's right around your 3-year examples about yourself, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, I am familiar with this and, unfamiliarity is scary. But what I would share for anyone is that, it's just, your fear of action has to be less than the fear of not acting, right? So it's like, okay, yeah, it's unfamiliar, right? Chemistry for the right chemicals for a lawn was unfamiliar the first time you went through it, but it was important to you. So you're like, I'm going to learn this, right? But it's it's more fun because it's applicable of what I want to do and what I want to learn. Right. So that's why the desire that Marya speaks about is so important, because if you have that desire, you're going to learn it. You're going to keep pushing through. And I would imagine that there is nothing right now from an unfamiliarity perspective that could be thrown at you that you would say, I'll figure it out. Let's get through it. Right.
Right.
And there's a very important theme here too, where in like I mentioned earlier, we all make decisions based upon the past, right? And we ask questions like, what do you think about it? Would have changed something, right? I want everyone to know, right, that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Your past, your decisions made have led you to this point. So wherever you are right now, you are where you're supposed to be. And you've learned, you needed that, mm-hmm. right? From the universe, from the energy, right? You needed whatever that lesson was back when you were going through college and back when you were trying to figure out, the realty game. You needed those experiences to say, well, I know that landscaping is what I am passionate about and what I believe in. And I'm going to make a killer living doing this and helping people and helping my community and seeing their lawns transform, right? Without those years of experience, right? If you had done this, and you kind of did, right? If you had done this right out of school, but if you had, you wouldn't have had all that to know that.
True thing.
Right.
True story.
No, I mean it's learning from past people, past jobs or past friendships. I take everything that I've learned from everybody that I've worked with, I've come in contact with, that I've spent some time with. I take little pieces of it, and that's exactly who I am today. From Holly, who was the broker for the real estate. She would do anything. Like if you needed this, she was going to give it to you. And she was a great mentor for me. Starting off in real estate, she helped me through so many different difficult transactions, and like this is how you need to do it. And like she essentially taught me, perseverance. Just like you just keep working through it. It'll solve itself. And if it doesn't solve itself, so what? Like there will be another, type of thing.
Yeah.
My friend Jeff, who, we did the irrigation company with, that he taught me ambition. He taught me, like, if you want to do something, raise your hand and say, I want to do this, and teach me the way. And that's why I was able to grow so quickly, through the, not necessarily his business, but the business we were working with before. Like I started off as, I was only supposed to be hired for a day. I found that out. And they were going to hire me for one job because it was a tough one. And then they were going to fire me. And I was like, well, what are you guys doing here? Like, he's like, no, just like, if you want to learn, I'll teach you. And then that afternoon he goes back in, and like the guy was going to come out and fire me. And he's like, hey, actually, he's actually pretty good. Like you might want to, like, he's eager to learn. So then they brought me back the next day, and then he was going to fire me at the end of that day. And then one other guy's like, well, let me take him for a day, so then I was in another job. And so by the end of the week, I had a full-time job with them. And by the end of that month, I was a technician, working and having my own truck, and
that's amazing.
It goes to the importance of, putting a full honest effort in, right? Every single day. Right. And if you can't do that, if you're not passionate about it, like when you came to me and were like, Darryl, I got to get rid of it. I can't work with Stay Space anymore. Right. I would remember my response. I'm like, good, I'll love it. But whatever, I'm like, go and kick some ass and take some names. Like, because the spread thin thing is very important. You can't be spread thin, especially when you're building something. So, but the reality is like, you have to be able to go all in.
Yeah.
Right. And not just working hard, right? Like you have to be able to go all in and truly love what you're doing and be passionate about it, have that desire, because if you don't, right, you're not going to be successful. And you would have been fired after a day or two.
Yeah, absolutely. I have struggled a lot, and I'm really starting to learn how to say no to certain people, to certain things. I would always try to please everybody. So even making that phone call to you, Darryl, to say like, I need to take a step back.
That must have been difficult. You were sweating? Yeah.
I paced for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Just trying to get the courage to just call and say, hey, I can't do this. Like I need to need to have some time back here, because I didn't want to let you down. I was like, and I sat there, I was like, well, maybe there's a way to figure out how to be a real estate agent, a landscaper, and work for Stay Space. And it's just like, no matter which way I looked at it, it was just something has to give. And, because something would have just been, gone by the wayside, whether it was your company, whether it was my real estate career, whether it was my landscaping career, or whether it was my family. Something was going to give eventually. And I needed to be the one to pick.
That hustle culture, though, is a real thing, right? It is something that there's almost like a badge of honor when you have 3, 4. I work all of these hours, and I'm working so hard. Watch what I'm doing, and it's almost there's like a badge of honor, and rewarded, encouraged. But when you go all in on you, and you go all in on your passion, right? And your desire, like I said before, your desire, and then you focus on the why. So you're going to nothing, you're unstoppable, and you're building this business now that is successful. I mean, that's pretty interesting though. Like
Mhm.
it's almost like that reward. Oh, well, look at him. He's got 3 jobs.
Right. Yeah.
What do you mean I can't have 3 jobs? That I can be
Right.
just have the one
Just
that
the
I'm
one.
passionate about?
Yep. Yep.
You said there, and it's one of my other notes here. It's a great segue to it. You were like, something has to give, and you listed off a few items there. And one of the items that you said was family, right? And we know
Yeah.
that's not going to give. We know that, right?
Yep.
But I want to dive into a little bit, if we could. You were on that car ride home, coming away from that event.
Mhm.
Okay, and because this is important, because I've seen this go the other way more times than not. You lean over to your wife, who's a sweetheart, by the way.
Mhm.
You lean over to her and you're
Hi,
like,
Craig's wife.
yeah. You lean over and you say, I want to change. I don't want to keep doing this.
Right.
And I know she said kind of with a condition. I think I know you guys well enough to be like, well, I think if you wanted to change again, I think she would support you. But you had the support.
Right.
You had the
Yeah,
support. And
absolutely.
there's so many people who don't get that support in their marriages, in their partnerships. What did that
Or
mean?
from your parents. I mean,
Or from your parents? Yes, from our
Yeah.
loved ones, right? Because oftentimes they don't know what they don't know,
right.
and it's unfamiliar to them, so they're scared for you,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
That's right.
And in some cases, they're scared for themselves too. But it's they're scared for you. I had one of my loved ones ask me recently, oh, what if this whole short-term rental thing goes upside down? I'm like, there's been short-term rentals since like the dawn of time. There's always, it's more proficient. It's more prolific now, not proficient,
Right.
prolific now. But
Right.
there's always been houses out there to rent. Like,
What,
no,
Sure.
it's
what
not
did you
going to
do
go
when
belly.
you went to Hampton Beach back in 1973?
Ex-
Did you
exactly.
stay in a hotel? You rented a house.
It's not going belly up, but and it won't. But I'll have to pivot. The business has to pivot. You have to keep your eye on those things. So. But I was asked that question. It's like, do you think you're going too much into this? No, I'm going more into this. I love it. I'm going all in.
Yeah.
But you had and have the support. Walk me through, if you could. What if you didn't have that?
No, that's everything. Having the support from, especially my wife. She's been super supportive. Like, put together a business plan. Let me see it. And whether it's something that I need to figure out, we'll be sitting down, we'll talk through it. Also, like, she understands that I think that I had been trying to find, I guess, my calling, and just try to figure out what I wanted to do and who I was. Because she knows that I, bounce around. I've done this, I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she saw that I had the passion to do this. And I was like, I really think I could do it right. And if I do it smart, I think it could be really good. No, she's been fantastic. And I wouldn't be, where I am today if I didn't have that support. My parents as well, they've been super supportive, though, they come from, you go graduate high school, you go to work, you move up in that career, you build that 401k, and you retire.
Yep.
And and do this, and it's great, and it works for them. They're, my mom's retired, my dad's retiring soon. They sold their house that they bought for $20,000 in a handshake back in 1993, and sold, and just like every boomer in this world, made a good chunk of change, and now they're building their retirement home, and like they're gonna be fine. But like, I feel like the world is not like that anymore. Clearly, you can't make $40,000 a year and buy a house for $80,000 a year. You'll still be making the $40,000 a year, but houses are $700,000. So you have to, like, working that job is not always the answer, because yes, you could fail at your business, but at any moment you could be fired or laid off from your job. So what,
right.
You have the exact same amount of risk. It just looks different. And
love that.
Yes, you talk about the fear of failure. Yes, if it's your business and it doesn't work out, yes, you've failed, I guess. And if you get laid off from your job, you didn't fail, you just got laid off. But really, if you look at it, you kind of did, like it's failure, whichever way you look at it. And it's not even that. I don't even want to say failure. It's just,
you tried something and you got to pivot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. And no, I mean, the support system's been great. My dad talks to me all the time. He's like, how are things going? And my dad has always told me, and I remembered it from being, I want to say I was probably like 12 or 13. My dad's like, I wish I had started my own business back when I could have. I really, and like that has stuck with me. I think about that, I don't know, a dozen times a year.
Wow.
Is my dad saying, I wish I had done that. I wish I had just started my own business, made a name for myself, whatever it was, instead of going and working for this company and just being,
an employee.
An employee, a slave to the owner of the
yep.
And do what is asked of you, or else you're going to be fired. So I took that and I was like, one day I want to own my own business. And like, that's when he said that, I was like, I think that's a really good idea. Like, that's what I want to do.
Interesting though. He wished he did. He could have.
Right. Yeah. But there was always something pulling me towards that comfortable job.
Of course.
Whether it was the influence of, others just saying, hey, you gotta get that job, earn that paycheck.
It's the way of the world. I'm doing that. And,
Right. So it was, it's that constant pullback because so many of the population just work that 9 to 5, work that and get that steady paycheck.
Yeah.
But they're, more of them than not, they're miserable. Like, or they're just not happy, or they're not satisfied. They're not necessarily miserable, but like, but I'm like, well, I'm going to do something for myself, and I'm going to put my name on it, and this is going to be me. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, I didn't fail. Like, it didn't work out. And I try not to get so hung up on like the fear of failure and what are people going to say? Like, I'm going to be criticized for, building a business and it not being successful, because like, I've known a bunch of people that have started businesses and they are no longer in business. And do you think I sit there and talk with my friend and be like, oh, remember that?
No, you don't.
Business that didn't work? No, I don't care, because it's not my life. So it's like, they're not going to care about me, but like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to make it successful, and I don't care about what other people think.
We spend as human beings way too much time caring about what others think.
Yep.
And the majority of the time, even people that care about us, like, they're not thinking about us all the time. Like they got their own stuff they're working on. So why do we do that? Right. And there's a great book, Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. I believe, who's the author? Bonnie, I can't remember the last name, but anyway, it's a great book. Look it up. And I remember the number one regret of people who are close to death or dying is that they wish they were more true to themselves.
Right.
Yep.
And they didn't
like your dad, right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah. Yep. That's the number one regret, and that's they were more true to themselves and didn't live the way others expected.
Yep.
Right.
Number one.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
Number one. Right.
I don't know if my dad feels the same way now. I don't know. Like, but I think part of him kind of does, because he's always coming to me. He's like, hey, do you want to, even this winter, he's like, hey, I'm thinking in my retirement doing this, maybe you could be a part of your business. And I go, I don't know, put something together.
I would bet money that if we were chatting with him, that he would probably share whether he's packed it away, because we tend to do that, right? We tend to push aside things and like, it's too late, it's whatever. But I bet you money he would tell you.
Maybe we have him on the show if he's interested.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, that would be a different type of show. It wouldn't be the entrepreneurial one, but I would love that story, because it's someone with, a lifetime of experience.
Right.
Right. And it might be a very real episode I don't know where it would go, but I would, maybe we'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
but here's what I would say to him if I was talking to him, and I hope you shared this episode with him. And here's what I would say: you're still alive, brother.
Yep.
Yeah, I say it all the
You're
time.
still
It's
alive.
never too late to start over. It's never too late to start something new.
It's just
Never too late to help and serve.
Right?
The amount of people, because flying's kind of unique, right? There's not a lot of pilots. The amount of people that say to me, "Oh, I would love to get my license," or "I wish I could do that," or some variation of that. It's
Right.
a lot. It's a lot of people. And I've thought about getting my license. You know, my answer is every single time, do it.
Right.
What if you want to do it?
What are you waiting for?
And the responses are, well, and you're right. I mean, fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of failure, right? It's all these reasons of why I can't do it.
I see what you're pulling out.
Yep,
the book.
I love it.
Just
I love it.
Effing do it. I
love
that book.
So it's like, okay, maybe it's not aviation for someone who's listening to us right now, but maybe it's something that, maybe,
right.
You're older or your partner doesn't quite get it, or, you have your own self-limiting beliefs. Just freaking do it.
Yeah.
If you have a calling, just do it. It's never too late. I talked to someone like a couple of weeks ago about flying, and he's like, "Oh, I would love to do it." I was on vacation. That's what it was. I was on vacation. It was the table next to us. It was me, Ashley, and Bryce having dinner, and we're on the cruise ship. We love talking to people, so we just talked to the table next to us, and aviation happened to come up. He's like, "I would love to do it." I go, "Why don't you do it?" He's like, "Oh, I'm blind now. I don't think I can do it." And he's clearly not blind. He's good, in shape. He's probably a little bit older, whatever. And I'm like, well, just go and start taking some flights. Like
Right.
just, and I shared with him, I'm like, you can get a sport pilot license, and it's a less of a demand on the medical requirement. You have to stay within a certain range of your home airport. You can't fly at night. There's certain thing. Go get a hang glider license. Like just do something. If you have a calling, just do it.
Or a passion. It doesn't even have to be a calling. It doesn't have to feel like this purposeful thing. And because I think sometimes when we're talking about these things, right, we get stuck in, well, what's the purpose of it? Well, maybe it's just because you like it. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. It could be as simple as that. Right. I think when Darryl was asking you, what would you do if you didn't have the support? And it's not to belittle the support, because it's phenomenal. It's awesome. And, we Darryl and I have support as well and that's awesome. But if you were to think for a minute, the man in the suit, right? The man in the suit, you're like, this is it. I can't do this anymore. And she was worried and nervous, etc. What tools do you think you would have to have pulled out of a really rusty toolbox to help you push through to be like, nah, I'm still going to do it?
If she hadn't had the support,
correct. If she was really like, I don't know, man.
If she said no, no, Craig,
I don't know. Right.
Craig, she said no, Craig, 30 jobs changes, whatever, right? Like no.
I think she would have never said that, but hypothetically, if she were to say that, I think it would have probably lit a fire under me even more. To make that not necessarily quit the real estate right away, obviously keep that going, but I think I would have gone out, and remember I had that side hustle where I was helping you and a couple others. I would have gone out and doubled that, and then I would have made a little bit more, and then I would have done this and that, and then I would have gone to her and been like, this is what it could be, and this is what I'm trying to show you. And I would have I would have just kept pleading my case. And you're like, I got 25 clients, and by the way, our yard is going to get the award. So what? Right. Yeah, I mean, I think I would have just had to have just shown her, or whoever, if they had said no, don't do it. Like, I would have had to have proved my point and shown my worth, to get that blessing or the go ahead, which was never needed. It was just. It's nice to have. Do something and let's stick with it, I think was her main thing.
Yep. it's a hypothetical for others because
Yeah.
you're living it right now. Because
Right.
I would say a universal fear of humanity is the fear of lost love.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
If you, not you personally, but if that were to happen and you were to continue with that passion,
Mm-hmm.
that's a potential,
Right.
right? That's
Right.
that I may lose
Right.
the love of my life. I'm fearful of that.
Right.
But then we
Yeah.
go back to the regrets of the dying, where now I'm not living a life true to myself.
Correct. Yeah.
And yes, we have our partners, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, we are still our individual selves.
Correct. Right.
We can't forget that.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Because I
so
mean, if you're
critically important.
unhappy, then it's just going to reflect on the rest of your life. And
Correct.
You
Agreed.
can't give what you don't have. So if you are
Yeah.
empty and soulless, right? None of us here are, but okay, and you don't have you're not creative, and you're not how can you you don't love yourself because you're not living a life true to yourself. How can you give that to your spouse or to your partner?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the thing to take away from it is stop settling. Because if you have a life where you just settle, you're gonna be that person on their deathbed, just be like, oh, I wish I had done that. I would, Now, honestly, like obviously, like if you break it down, and if I didn't have that support system, and obviously it might have been a little easier for me because obviously I had 2 kids and a family, and we need health insurance, and we're fortunate enough to get it through my wife's employer. But like I didn't have to worry about that. But if that wasn't the case, I would have just figured it out. If I don't know the answer, that doesn't mean that there is no answer. It's just you gotta find the answer. Now, if you take health insurance, there's a marketplace. There's this. There's that. There's self-employed. Yes, it costs more, but there's an answer to it. And if it costs more, then just go make more money and work harder in covering that expense. So, like, people just try to find excuses into justifying their settlement. Like, it's just, I see it over and over again.
But look at the difference between desire and no desire.
Right. Huge difference.
Because I believe, right? Go back to your 3-year examples. Yeah. You would have fallen into the 98%, 97% of people that say, that come up to that. Oh, I can't do it. I'm out.
100%.
I'm out. Or I'm gonna recede to what's comfortable. Right.
Yep.
Now, because of your desire, like F it. Right. F it. I'm gonna figure it out. Like,
get comfortable living in the uncomfortable.
Yes.
Every morning I wake up, and it is a new challenge. It is what am I going to have to overcome today? Every day has an obstacle, and you have to overcome it. And like that's never ever going to change. And I don't know. Like, yes, I have my schedule and I know what I'm doing today, but I don't know what I'm going to run into. I don't know what's going to happen, and that's a very uncomfortable, unsettling feeling. And I think over the past 2 years, living with that, I'm numb to it now. Like, it's just the way running a business, living life, it's just going to happen. And you have to get comfortable just living with it and dealing with it. So, I tell people that all the time.
That's awesome. Craig, any last words of advice for someone that's like you, that was given a label, that was told you should do this, you can't do this, put you in a box, and you feel like you're in conflict, right? But there's something, there's something else. What's something you would speak to them? Let's talk to them right now.
I would have to say, be true to yourself, and figure out obviously what makes you happy, and learn and grow and figure. Everybody says all the time, if you enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life. You hear that all over and over again, but it's so true. Mm-hmm. If you enjoy it and you have a passion for something, don't settle. Don't resort back to that comfortable job. If you do, that's fine. Like, I'm not poking fun at that, that's fine. But if you really do want something more, and you want that freedom to be able to, on a Friday morning, go on a podcast. If I was working another job, they would have been like, no, schedule that on your own time. If you want that and you have the passion to, and you feel like you are just living up your life the way that your boss or whoever it is telling you to live your life, then make that change, make that jump, and do it. And if you fail, or if it doesn't work out, I don't want to say fail anymore. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean that you're never, ever going to find a job again. You're going to find something else. You're going to be able to go right back to where you were, lay everything out on the table, and start over. It's never too late to just start over and start something new. You can just keep going. If tomorrow my landscaping business fails, again, there's that word again, if it doesn't work out, I'll just start another one. And I'm going to learn from my mistakes, and I'm going to just keep going because my passion's there, and I'll figure it out along the way. And I think like another piece of advice for people, just starting off a business, and I tell, this year, I brought on a business partner. He wants to see the business grow. He's a good friend of mine. He's like, I want to invest. I want to see this grow. I want to help it grow. I want to be a part of it. And I'm sure brought him on, and and we're killing it this year. He's kind of running sales for me. Like, he's just
awesome.
He's doing all that, and it frees me up to do other things. I forgot where. Oh yeah, but I tell him all the time. I have a really hard time looking at another company and saying, why am I not like that? Why don't I have those, the 10 trucks? Why do I not have these big, this big office space and all these employees and everything like that? Oh yeah, it's because they've been doing it for 35 years. Go back in time to when they were just starting year 3 and see what their business looked like. So I'm constantly comparing my business to other businesses, whether they're big or whether they're small. I'm constantly doing that. And I tell them, I'm like, if you ever hear me do that, tell me to stop, because my business is different from them. And just don't compare yourself. Don't settle. Like just do your thing, and just wherever it goes, just enjoy the ride.
Awesome. That is awesome advice, my friend. Well, we've talked a lot about landscaping. So Craig, tell us where people can find you, where you're located, so they can find the next Better Homes and Gardens,
Sure.
I don't know, creator over here.
Yeah.
Where can they find you?
So by the way, personally endorsed, because Craig helps me at my property. So, all right, there's a little plug. Personally endorsed. Yeah. There we go.
True Turf Landscaping. We're based out of Darryl, New Hampshire, and we service, all of Southern New Hampshire for the most part, and kind of right around Southern New Hampshire, 93 areas, those surrounding towns.
What's the website?
It's trueturflandscaping.com. And you can find me on Facebook. That would be easier, and then the link to the website right there. And you can contact me either way, through the website, through Facebook. My numbers are on there. You can call me anytime. We offer property maintenance, irrigation, and landscape design and all that stuff. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Craig, this was fantastic. We really appreciate it. We went through quite a lot of amazing journeys that you've been on. For those of you that have listened to this, that this resonated, would love to hear your thoughts on it. If you want help or want to know how to do it, reach out to us. And we'd also love to find more Craigs of the world that we'd love to share your story. Yes. So reach out to us at quitthequota.com. And I wish you all a very amazing weekend. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.